What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Live from Redhook here at the Function House. I'm Mike Gentile along here with Anthony Vitale. We are back after having a week off as we took off last week for September 11th. But without further ado, we'd like to welcome to our Live from Redhook show, the one and only William Grand.
Cheers.
What's up, man?
What up?
Good to see you again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
So this is the first time I'm meeting you as William Grand.
Yeah, it's a whole new chapter.
Yeah. Let's talk about you changed your name.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was started as Japan Cakes. I mean, that's how kind of we met back in the day.
Yep.
But I mean, the Japan Cakes just started as like, when I was DJing just for fun on the side and kind of needed a name last minute for a party. It was a Halloween party and my boy was like, yo, what's your DJ name? What are you going to do? And it was just kind of like a spur of the moment, like had it in my head, like, just go DJ Japan Cakes and I'll change it later. And like, as soon as I said that, I was like, damn, I'm never going to change that name. And then, and then here we are, like years later. I'm kind of a little bit doing a little bit more like sincere things, a little bit more, outside of like just some fun.
I mean, I
party
did not
stuff.
like Japan Cakes, but
Yeah.
I think William Grand's a better fit for you.
Yeah, I mean, especially at this stage, like what I'm trying to do and where I'm trying to go and things I'm trying to get into, I'm just felt more comfortable, kind of switching things up and going with something that's a little bit more like my real name,
So let's take a step back. We'll get into all that,
Yeah.
and let's talk about how you got into DJing in general.
Yeah, I mean, it really just started by having friends who had turntables and like vinyl laying around. Everybody that I was around with kind of rapped or freestyled, and I was never really good at that. So like I was like found myself behind the turntables, like just messing and just sitting there scratching a bunch, and then kind of had the brand started. We had a warehouse and we had turntables set up in there and speakers. So any free time we had, like they were always on the mic. I was always just messing around on the turntables. And then I guess 2004 or 5, that's when Serato came out. And I was like, one of my friends was using it in a club. And I was like, what is this? Like, I've never even seen this before. Like, you're using your laptop. And then it was just kind of like, he was like, yeah, come in next week and like try it out. And like we did it tried it for the first time in the venue. And like up until then, I was just doing it for fun, like with our friends, like at parties. So that kind of introduced me to the first time as like doing it in a venue. And I was like, wow, like getting that reaction from a room of people, like to what you're playing, it was awesome. So
How did you seed your hard drive for music when you got onto the Serato platform? Like,
Yeah,
where did you get your music from?
Well, I had a bunch of music just from loving music and
Yep.
just from having a computer filled with music to begin with. And then
Plus being out in the clubs too, a couple nights a week, you get the collection quick.
yeah, exactly. And then I don't know if you remember back then, there was no like online record pools. They'd send you CDs.
Yes.
Like you'd subscribe to like a CD pool or record
Yeah, like
pool.
promo only.
Yeah, and then they'd be like, these are the songs and the albums of the week or the month or whatever. So I started getting a lot of those from the guy who put me on, and just started from there. But I mean, we really just started playing what I liked, like just songs that I liked.
So you were also into making clothes. So you were in the clothing company for a while.
Yeah, that was kind of my main thing for a while, and DJing was always on the side. And then I started having more opportunity DJing, so kind of took over the reins.
So what was Bean Dip was the name of the company, right?
Yeah, and
you
I was
you just phased that out.
Yeah, I mean, once I had started, kind of when I was in New York, was doing Bean Dip and DJing kind of 50-50, and then I started having more opportunities DJing and like running a clothing brand. You have like a lot of moving parts, and you're kind of dependent on a lot of other people. And then I started getting opportunities DJing, and that's just kind of like, that's just you're dependent on yourself, and like you got your laptop and your backpack and your head full of like what you want to play, and you're good to go.
It's a lot easier than running a clothing business.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Especially like at that point, where like it was kind of like 2010 or 11, where the whole kind of graphic T-shirt game was kind of coming into a weird phase. So it was good timing to like phase it out and just kind of focus on DJing. And
I feel like sneakers and clothing, they kind of went down. Like everyone was shopping for sneakers, and then the T-shirts right afterwards.
yeah.
Now they both took a little bit of a...
Yeah, I mean, everybody that was buying the stuff in like the late 2000s was all of a sudden like 5, 6, 8 years older, and maybe they're not buying the same stuff
Right.
anymore. And now it's kind of secular, and
it's coming back,
right into that same
Yes.
mode of like graphic tee, streetwear stuff, and whatever. So
Would you ever jump back in the clothing business?
I wouldn't say no, absolutely not. But I mean, in some kind of version, I probably have some kind of ideas to do. But
What were some of the challenges that you faced when you were in the clothing business?
Getting people to pay was number one for sure.
I always paid.
Yeah. Well,
I
yeah,
always-
you always pay before, you know. Plus, I knew you were gold, you know. But no,
Like
it was
people,
just
everybody-
accounts. You know, we'd go to trade show. There's a trade show in Vegas twice a year called Magic. There's a kind of like a really diluted version of it now of what it once was, but that's kind of where you go and you meet all the new accounts and you kind of, you know, feel everything out. And, you know, we started snowballing a lot from doing those and getting pressed with a few magazines and online shops and stuff. But then you get these new accounts, they sign up and they pre-order, and then it's just kind of you're just kind of running around chasing stuff and like chasing production and trying to get stuff on time and meet deadlines when you really just want to be like creative and design the shit and like get it out. And sorry, can we curse on this? Or
Yeah,
no?
of course.
All right.
Yeah, so people don't want to pay on time.
Yeah, just same shit, you know. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah,
I
you know.
think you deal with that in every business, though.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You learn that. Yeah, I guess you learn that really quick. I guess with the clothing, it's just a lot more moving parts and a lot more people owe you a lot more money than what you would want. But
Yeah.
it was
Yeah,
just timing.
It's a lot of floating, you know, right? You got to float a lot of capital
Yeah, on
at
that
times.
30.
Yeah, when
Yeah.
people, yeah, exactly. When people are like pre-order a bunch of stuff, you gotta get all that made first. No one's prepaying for any of that.
Amex.
Yeah.
You know, like,
And if you're not,
yeah.
you know, if you're not popping where you want to be, you know, the revenue stream coming in is not as fast as you would like it to be.
Yeah, and
right?
we were never a huge brand. I mean, we had like, you know, a good amount of accounts worldwide and a good presence online, but like, you know, we had like 1,000 square foot warehouse out of state, but we were never like this massive operation where we could like, you know, float a bunch of things.
What
But
was like the hot item that you guys produced?
we did this, and this is again, this kind of started by accident. Everything I've done was just kind of started out of like just
Moving
kinda
to New York.
just
Right.
doing fun things. This started in Florida. I'm from Southern Jersey, but this all started by accident in Florida. Just screen printing T-shirts with friends, selling to a local store, and then like some guy ordered a shirt online who happened to work for a big online store at the time called Karmaloop, which you might be familiar
Of
with.
course.
And then he was actually the head buyer and emailed us, was like, yo, actually I'm a head buyer, and like actually something got messed up on his order and we took care of it right away. And he was like, I like how you guys handled it. I like the company. Like, let's put you guys on board on the site, and got it moving. And we did like this one zip up red hoodie with like boom boxes on it that I think Ludacris wore in a video. And then since then it just kind of popped, and they were like
And you
behind
guys
us.
were
And
like, holy shit.
yeah,
this
we're
is
like,
really
oh,
happening.
cool. And then we're all of a sudden, you know, the whole world opened up into this whole like, or everything opened up into this whole new world of like streetwear stuff that we weren't really like, you know, I never grew up with like in New York or around that. I was just like making stuff that we liked and just hoping other people would like it too. And then we're like, oh, okay, there's this whole world of like graphic tees and streetwear stuff that people actually like and fuck with.
So DJing, what exactly are you focusing on now? Is it more events than nightclubs?
Yeah, definitely trying to get out of clubs. Like when, you know, we first moved to New York and first running around, like, you know, doing all the venues 3, 4, 5 nights a week, and that's a lot of fun. But at this point, it's just like redundant, and it takes a lot out of you. You know, like I'll do like a couple of nights in a row now where I'm up to like 4 or 5 in the morning. I'm like, I'm done the next day.
You're out.
You're a morning person?
Not usually, because I'd be out till 4 or 5 a.m. But
Yeah.
I'd like to be more. I like to be, you know,
I'm up
moving forward.
I'm up early now.
Yeah.
7 a.m. I'm up.
Well, you got the youngin', you got the little boy waking you up. Like, you don't have, you know.
He's ready to go
yeah,
at 7 a.m.
Yeah. See, I don't have that quite of a human alarm clock yet, but like, I'd like to be a morning person, you know.
Yeah.
It's probably healthier.
So how long have you been doing how long were you doing the nightclubs for? Like how long?
I mean, a few years. I'm still doing a few spots, but definitely segueing and transitioning out of doing nightclubs on a regular basis, and kind of been fortunate enough to like pick up a lot more events and do private parties and branded things and stuff like that.
Do you think anything has to do? I mean, we have a lot of DJs, obviously, on the show, and we talk to them about this. You know, does part of it have to do with like, you know, you as a DJ, you're getting older, the crowds are still staying the same age. And does it have anything to do with sort of like the connection in terms of like the connection that you might have with the age group that's at the actual party?
A little bit, but not 100%. I mean, of course, like that age group's always gonna stay the same, and they're gonna like some stuff that like maybe we don't gravitate to as much.
Yep.
But that happened probably when we were young too. That
Of
like
course.
we liked some shit that like some older dudes weren't really up on. But there's a lot of new stuff that I do like, and I don't mind playing too. But there's also a lot of stuff coming out, and I'm like, I can't wait till this is over. But yeah, and then the events are just like better hours, budgets are better, and like treated
Budgets are
better.
definitely better.
Yeah, budgets are a lot better.
People
Once,
are
like,
actually dancing at the parties.
yeah, and like you can play like some classic good music, some Michael Jackson, Stevie Wonder, Prince stuff, and like people are responding to that. You play that at a club now, and there's like a 20-year-old like, who is this? And like, can I hear some like, you know, whatever face tattoo rappers out right now? I'm not
Drake. Drake's probably
Yeah.
in the
Yeah, I mean, and
biggest
I don't even
request.
mind playing Drake because he's, you know, he's decent and he's good at what he does, and he's had longevity. I mean, his run's incredible, but like, you know, I'd say I'm not gonna talk down any other rapper doing
Yeah.
a thing, but
no,
you know,
of course not.
Yeah, but I mean, it's also the age groups and the diversity. I mean, like when we were that age, being in a club and you know maybe hearing a DJ play something that you're not accustomed to. You know, I
Right.
guess we all go through that.
yeah. And I mean, at a certain point, you do have to like just not play what everybody wants you to play, and you kind of have to put people on to some stuff. But at a certain point, it's like
It's
whatever.
tough. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's just a new time right now.
Yeah, but like being a DJ, knowing that the record's only going to take like play for a minute and a half, like,
Right.
people should know like, all right, it's going to be over in a minute and a half. If
Right.
you don't like the song,
Everyone gets so impatient.
yeah,
It's like, yeah, if you play something and somebody doesn't know it or they're not feeling it, then like, immediately they're like,
it's going to be over in a minute and a half. Just
yeah,
chill.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's the only bad thing that came about with technology in Serato is the fact that, you know, with having the ease of use of just switching songs so fast.
The ability to cut in and out.
So
yeah.
so what that's basically done is like the crowds have been conditioned to not want to listen to a song for longer than a minute.
It's
Right.
like one verse and out.
You know,
Yeah.
if like a song is
Verse,
longer
hook,
than,
next song.
yeah,
Yeah,
and if it's
yeah.
longer than that, like everybody's just like sort of waiting
Drags a
around,
little bit,
You know? And it's
yeah.
funny because like when you play, like if you're doing private events, like and you're dealing with crowds that are older, you know, sometimes you're going in and out of shit, and like you have people who come over to you, and you're like,
Yeah.
you're gonna let that song play?
Yeah,
You
let
know?
it breathe a little bit. Like,
Yeah.
that was my favorite song. You know, it played like a minute and a half.
And
I'm
then
like,
you-
oh, I forgot you actually have an attention span. All right,
Yeah,
sorry.
so it's
Yeah.
like that's a big challenge that you face today. Is that you know? It's
Yeah, and I mean, it just goes back to just knowing the audience and reading the room too. You know, you play an older like kind of disco stuff to that crowd, and you know you can play the extended like 3 or 4 minute version. Everyone's gonna be all about it.
crazy.
You know.
Yeah.
You enjoy playing the disco and the classic stuff, right?
Yeah, everything really. I mean, I enjoy playing anything to any crowd that's gonna enjoy themselves, really. But I mean, it's fun playing old stuff. It's fun playing new stuff. But when you play a song that's older and somebody's like, "Oh my God, like I forgot about this," or like, "Oh shit, I haven't heard this in so long," like that's when it really like, those are the moments that are like, you know, that are really cool.
So how are you on your social media game? Are you keeping up with like Instagram,
Man, it's
Snapchat?
just no, I don't do Snapchat anymore. It's just there's so much crap out there, and it's just like it's a gift and a curse, and it's kind of like what you need to do to stay in people's faces, and I'm kind of like in a position now where like, all right, I need to let people know and put people up on like what I'm doing, because if I don't, then people are just gonna assume I'm not doing shit.
Yeah.
But I'm also like sometimes I just want to go and play a party, and like maybe I didn't have a photo from the night, and maybe I just want to come home and like that's it, you know. But I gotta be like, all right, well, if nobody knows about this, then they're gonna think maybe not doing shit. But actually, it was like a really poppin' party with like a bunch of like really decent people in the room.
But you know what's so funny about social media is that it is becoming harder and harder for you to make a reach, like with your Instagram and Facebook. Like Facebook has turned into a place where like organically your posts go absolutely nowhere.
Yeah,
And they
well,
go-
because
they-
they want you to buy it to promote the shit.
Yeah,
yeah.
so it's like you
Yeah.
have to pay for it, and the days of like doing fake followers, like that doesn't make any sense.
Well,
So it's
yeah.
like a
Well, there's
waste of
zero
money.
engagement on that. So
Yeah.
like, you know, there's people that are buying like they have like 100,000 followers on the shit, and then they have like, you know, like
10 likes on
yeah, and like
2
3
comments.
comments of like somebody saying like great feed or something. It's like, all right, you know, like you don't be that thirsty. Maybe just focus on your craft and not on
Yeah.
fucking.
Yeah,
buying.
I never bought any followers. I mean, I don't have many, but I
Yeah.
never,
It's quality over quantity, you know. You just
Yeah.
you always go back to this one J. Cole tweet. Is like he had like 500 followers, and he was like, "Yo, I just hit my 500 follower. Like I know it's not enough I know it's not many like for all most of these rappers, but like I appreciate every one of you. And now it's like a screenshot. Now he's like up to like 6 million or something, you know.
Wow.
So it just goes to show you and that's a perfect example. J. Cole just like stays low, he's humble, and just works on his shit, and like
See, that's another thing with social media too. Like, put out quality. Like, if you're gonna post something, make sure it's fitting the screen. Right. Make sure it's a high quality photo. You know, don't just put anything up.
Right, just quality over quantity. Type
and the same
thing
thing with like J. Cole. He just puts out bomb tracks. You know?
Yeah, he'll stay quiet, and all of a sudden he's like, "Oh shit, he has an album out. It's phenomenal." You know, or like, "Oh, he's got a new feature out. It's phenomenal."
What about music production? Anything?
A little bit, like some edits here and there. I'm just so like I feel like there's so many people doing so much good stuff, and I'm like so far behind. You know, I feel like I'm kind of behind the whole grand scheme
what
of that.
Do you use?
But Ableton. Yeah. But that's definitely something I need to focus on more of.
Yeah, like even making like little tools that only you use in the club, you know, just to separate yourself from DJs. I think it always helps.
Yeah. I mean, I have a bunch of edits and stuff I made, but a lot of them are super chill, like mellow, kind of like hip hop influenced things, you know, that like aren't for the club at all. I remember I made a edit of, it was like a super mellow edit of Commas by Future, like when that came out, and I was like, yeah, this is so sick. And I played in the club, and it was like, because it was so chill, you know. And then my boy was like, yeah, no, I don't think this is for the club. And I was like, yeah, I know, but fuck, like I just wanted to play it.
You could
like,
put out a mix and call it "Not for the Club."
Yeah,
just put all these.
Every one of my mixes is not for the club, because I figure like you put out a mix, everyone wants to like chill to it in their apartment or like drive to it or like hang out, and they're not like trying to party and like pop off.
Yeah, that's
it's
true.
Like, you know, so every one of my mixes is pretty kind of mellow. But
what about some of the new switching gears technology, the stuff that's been coming out, like the new Rain turntables that, you know, needleless, obviously,
yeah.
Phase.
And then the Phase.
Yeah,
know,
I've heard good things about the Phase, and I have a friend who just got the 12s, and I haven't used either of them yet, but I like it. I mean, you got to keep moving forward. You got.
I use the Rain 12, and I really like it.
Really?
Yeah. I think the Phase, I'm waiting for that to come out. I'm going to try that.
Yeah.
I'm either buy the 12 or the Phase.
Yeah, the only thing I've heard about the only negative thing I've heard about the 12 is like maybe the back, like the reception to like using your, you know, the response, I guess, is a little bit off.
So I actually sound better on the 12
really
than I do on the 1200.
Well, you're nasty on those, so I don't know.
Yeah, no,
you probably have an edge.
You know, the one thing about like backspinning is you're always worried about hitting the needle.
Right.
And you don't have to worry with these, you know. So it's like you're working harder on the records. You're moving faster, and you don't have to worry about hitting the needle.
Yeah.
So
let me ask you something. So knowing you and knowing how good you are, does it make you upset or like kind of like looking at everybody that's out now and knowing that you can like completely destroy technically and musically a room, but there's like these little like influencer like girls and twins and stuff and like doing these things?
I feel like I had a good time, and you know, like when I was DJing like clubs, I feel like I had a great time, and it just wouldn't be the same now.
Yeah,
I'm a lot older. I have different responsibilities, you know. So
yeah,
I enjoy what I did.
You had a good era.
Yeah,
it was a good,
and I enjoyed this. I really enjoyed this. I really listening to different DJs, sitting down, hearing their story. So this for me is like keeping me still in the game.
True.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, of course, I come in here sometimes and I work. You know, I crush it in here.
Right.
I'm gonna be putting out CDs and mixes and stuff like that. But
yeah, I remember. I mean, that was like just watching you and like a lot of other dudes that like when I first started playing around here at like Old Juliet and stuff.
Yeah,
and, like,
it was a good party.
And Big Ben playing. That's how I first like talking about cutting records super quick.
You could thank Big Ben for having to play records only 1 minute.
Ben was nasty on it. Was just like verse hook, maybe just a hook and out, hook out. Yeah. But like as soon as like one person would be bummed that he changed the song, the next song would be so much better that they forget about it, and he'd do that for like 2 hours. You know,
yeah,
it's like,
he's got to be playing like 500 tracks in 2 hours.
Yeah,
I wouldn't say 500, probably 300 in 2 hours.
Yeah, and this is like 8 years ago when like people kind of still had their attentions still together. So yeah, it was kind of but yeah, growing up and being around that definitely like influenced the whole like cutting quick.
So you were born and raised in South Jersey?
Yeah, Cape May, New Jersey.
You came to New York at what age?
Probably 8 or 9 years ago. So I went to school in Florida, and that's when I started the brand, started DJing on the side, and then I was like the ceiling is pretty low in Florida. You're not really gonna go anywhere being there.
Yeah.
So I was like, I gotta get up. I had a bunch of friends here that were doing things already, and mostly for the brand, like design wise, it made more sense, and then closer to home. So kind of packed up literally a U-Haul and like moved up in like 2008 or 9. So yeah.
You came here. 2008, 2009 was like the time in New York, at least for me.
Yeah.
It was a good time to be here.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, thanks for coming down.
Yeah, thank you
Do you
guys.
have
Appreciate
something
it.
prepared
to,
to
hearing
play?
set.
A little
are you gonna
bit,
get
but
into?
kind of just whatever. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really have a full thing, and I never really prepare anything. I just kind of go with the flow. But
Yeah.
if you guys have any suggestions?
No,
we-
let
we
you
just-
rock.
Probably some old stuff, some new stuff, whatever.
Oh,
Yeah.
play whatever.
If
man.
you guys have, if there's anybody like watching that wants to request something or
My
like.
mom's watching. My
Yeah.
mom's always. Actually, today's her birthday. Happy birthday to
happy
my
birthday,
mother,
Mama
mother
Dukes.
Angie, yep.
Yeah.
She's our
what's
biggest fan.
what's
Yeah.
her favorite? What's one of her favorite?
She loves
like,
the
artists?
Beatles.
All right, I'll start off
Yeah.
with the Beatles then.
All right.
All right, we're gonna take a 2-minute break. We're gonna get William Grand up on the set. Peace.